Hello there, and welcome back to the neighborhood. We're taking a look at Moondrop's new DSP, usbc planar and dynamic driven IEM at an affordable price, the May. Let's get into it. So the May is a hybrid IEM consisting of a 10mm dynamic sapphire evaporation composite diaphragm and a 6mm annular or round planar. The original press release of the May suggests that the planar only really handles 8 kHz and above, making use of a powered two-way crossover. While the crossover seems a bit high, Moondrop promises this results in low distortion and a balanced timbre, two outcomes that this reviewer can get behind. The shell itself is comprised of a comfortable resin with a metal faceplate, and I've gotten a lot of questions in my Discord about the size of this thing, and it's actually quite small and comfortable to wear. Much smaller and less chunky than, let's say, the Blessing series or variations. When worn, it nestles well into my ear canal, and its faceplate is pretty much flush with my pinna, and it doesn't really stick out at all. The ear tips provided in the box are Moondrop's older style black silicone ear tips, which I tend to prefer over things like their spring ear tips, but I would have still liked to see Moondrop potentially make use of their newer style ear tips that came with the Aria 2. And I'll also note that putting on the stock ear tips, at least the older style ones that came in the box, was exceedingly difficult and overly tight in their fit. Also in the box is the same case that was provided with the Aria 2, which is a somewhat large, zipper-closed, brown leather style carrying case that I wish could have been smaller. A cable that looks eerily similar to Moondrop's free DSP cable is also included. It's essentially the same detachable 2-pin cable as the free DSP, but has May imprinted instead on one side of the flat USB termination. I generally like this cable, as I like the free DSP as well, but I will also note that it's not exactly the same as the free DSP cable on the inside, as the Moondrop Link 2 application on my smartphone does recognize it as something entirely different, and it has unique presets specifically designed to be used with the May. You also can't use the free DSP presets with the May cable if you're considering doing that, but you can download presets from others in the community and manually set the EQ with this cable if you wanted to go that route. Additionally, the May is not represented in the presets for the free DSP cable either. The May cable also has an inline microphone, just as the free DSP cable does, with 3-button functionality to answer phone calls and control playback, including start, stop, and volume adjustments. Timbre is relatively neutral, and in fact, more neutral, but somewhat less engaging compared to something like the Truth Ear Zero Red or the Aoshida E20, which are warmer and brighter respectively compared to the May. The May is also more relaxed up top compared to the E20. Note weight is excellent though, and it's pretty accurate overall in its depiction of musical sound. My original impressions of the May were that it was a somewhat timid, American audiophile focused sound signature with pretty excellent note weight and tonality. I thought it lacked some dynamics and testified in my Discord that it sounded somewhat like an all BA driven set, even if it would have been a well implemented one at that. By the way, the link to the Discord, which is free to join, will be provided in the description below, so feel free to reach out to me there. But all of my impressions of the May changed when I started to experiment with Moondrop's Link 2 application and the May's specific EQ settings within it. And it's because of these settings that it's kind of hard to report accurately on the sound profile of the May, since the EQ settings within the app do work well and can make some pretty drastic adjustments to the May's frequency response. For example, the reference setting, which sets the May to Moondrop's virtual diffuse sound field target curve, produced more engaging bass and better dynamics. But with regard to details, clarity, and resolution, one is kind of getting what they pay for with the May with its price set at $65. In other words, it sounds like a solid performing set at its price. Decently detailed, but lacking in some top-end brilliance, sparkle, and articulation. Although it's not a giant leap, the Aria 2, with the free DSP cable, is certainly a step above what the May is capable of. The May is also definitively rolled off with its USB-C cable, and doesn't have the upper end extension of either the Aria 2 or the Aoshida E20. But without its USB-C cable, I was able to squeeze some more treble out of it. This was a bit perplexing, given that the planar is supposedly crossed over at 8 kHz, so I'm not sure how much work the planar driver is actually doing. Based on these observations, it seemed to me that the May's own cable was responsible for restricting its top end somewhat, even if it did notably assist in its low-end reproduction when EQ'd in the app. With that said, the EQ does have some limitations as well, as the lower limits of adjustment begin around 500 Hz, and the upper limits of adjustment only go as high as 4500 Hz. Still, it seems that in the presets, they're making adjustments above and below these numbers though, so maybe Moondrop can open up the EQ specificity a bit more in the future. Staging of the May is pretty average, but it images well and is decently separative of both notes and instruments within its space. The shape of the stage is observably rectangular and oriented longitudinally from left to right. It's technically decent, but not really standout or remarkably special to my ear. The depth of the field is moderate, and in the course of my listening, I found myself consistently wishing and longing for additional forward projection that was not there. I will note that the May did seem to benefit from additional volume, however, but this listening volume was too loud for me to listen to for prolonged periods of time. But maybe you're someone who enjoys listening at louder listening levels than I am. Sibilance or harshness are not issues for the Moondrop May. And vocal reproduction isn't lacking in the May, but it does sound somewhat soft and neither special nor standout. It never really made me perk up and pay attention to or even take note of the singer, even on vocal-centric tracks. Nevertheless, I certainly think that one is undoubtedly getting what they pay for with the May. It's an interesting package for those that are after a USB-C connection with a built-in DAC and some adjustable EQ functionality through Moondrop's Link 2 app. The fact that the cable is detachable also doesn't limit the May's listener and grants some flexibility for additional or future use. Furthermore, it's an intriguing hybrid design from a driver perspective, even if the planar portion may not be being utilized fully as things stand at this time. In the end, the May is a pleasing, versatile listen that likely has something for everyone, and won't offend anyone's ears. Thanks to Shenzhen Audio for sending the Moondrop May into the channel for review. I'll leave a link for the May at their website in the description below. There will also be links to follow the channel at all other access locations there as well, so make sure you check them out and give me a follow there as well. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and consider leaving a like on this video if you enjoyed its content. And with that, I'm out for now.